Evonne, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. It's good to see you again.
You've only just realised that I'm actually taking the photograph, haven't you?
I know. Somebody just told me, he said, oh, Lisa's taking my photo. I thought, what?
Hang on, she's not a photographer.
Does that too? No. I thought, okay, I can't wait to see them.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Evonne, your story is an amazing one. It's such an Australian story. Take us right back to the beginning. Tell us about your childhood.
Well, I was actually born in Griffith. My dad was a very hard worker. He was a gun shearer and one of the best around. So his boss took the whole family to Borellan. But before I went to Borellan, my dad cut a handle out of an apple crate board, and I used that to hit balls against house walls, water tanks, any wall I could see. And I used to play a little tournament against the wall to see how many times I can hit the ball against the wall one bounce without making a mistake, write the highest score in the dirt, come back the next day and try and beat that score. So when we moved to Borellan, it was just so happened it was right behind a tennis club. And so that was the first time I saw a tennis court. The local townspeople, you know, they saw how keen I was, and they saw me peering through the fence at the tennis club when the coaches came from Sydney and held a week-long coaching clinic. And I used to sort of, you know, look at it and think, oh, I wish I was there, you know. The next year they brought the age group down just for me to be entered in that coaching clinic. Apparently they said, oh, you know, I think we've got somebody here. So it was the townspeople. It was Dot and Clary Irvin from Borellan. They used to drive me around to country tournaments. Eventually they bought my suitcase, my clothes, everything to go to Sydney. And I never looked back since.
When did you first hear about something called Wimbledon?
Well, that was when I was about 8. I read this cartoon girls magazine, and it was called Princess. And so it showed this story of a young girl who was found trained and taken to this place called Wimbledon, where she played on this magical centre court and where she won. And somebody told me, they said, oh yeah, that place is for real. It's in London, it's in England. And I thought, oh wow. So every time after that, I hit the ball against the wall, which I kept doing that. I used to pretend that I was on that magical centre court and winning. So that became my dream. And
so when you arrived in Sydney, that's what you were thinking, this is what I'm aiming towards?
Yes. It literally did become my dream. I know that when I first came to Sydney, I was very homesick. I think I cried nearly every other night, but no, I wanted to stick it out because I wanted to achieve that dream. I wanted to go and play in that magical centre court. So that's what kept me there. It got me over the homesickness.
And then in 1971, there you were on the centre court, facing the great Margaret Court. How did you rate your chances?
Well, not good, really. I thought, oh no, I'm going to be playing in the final again against my hero growing up, Margaret Court. And she beat me most of the time. But this particular time, I was playing so well and I was feeling so good. I won and achieved my dream.
What's it like when you have a lifelong dream and at a very young age you achieve that dream? What did that feel like?
Well, it didn't really sink in until a while later because I was still going through the shock of actually beating my hero in 71. And then sort of later on I thought, oh wow, I did achieve that dream, you know, and made me think about all the tough times that I went through getting there and homesickness and everything. It was one of the really turning points of my whole life really, because now, since I've been back in Australia, I want to do for a lot of Indigenous kids all around Australia what the townspeople did for me with the Evonne Goolagong Foundation, which we've set up. I'm doing what the townspeople did for me, but on a national level.
So this is for Indigenous kids?
Yes. It's a government program to, it's all about better health and education.
Yeah.
So basically it's about keeping the kids in schools and like even here in Sydney, I think there's about 15 girls going to Pymble Ladies College. and we've got some in Southport, in every state, and that can only grow. Nearly 100% of those kids that we do look after and monitor them have never dropped out. They're still in there.
That's great.
So it's working.
What's it like seeing someone like Serena Williams play? I mean, she's such a powerhouse.
Oh, she really is. I remember Billie Jean, Margaret, Chris, Martina, myself, we were playing an event in Florida, and I remember Serena's and Venus's dad bringing them when they were quite young.
Because he was always
To see us
determined
play.
that they were going to be...
Yes, he was very determined.
Yeah.
And he did a really good job. I mean, they've just come a long way. They've taken tennis to another level, really.
And so you still see your compatriots of tennis from that era, you still see them now?
Well, actually, during the last Australian Open, they did a luncheon for me, which was really nice. And Chris and Martina and Margaret came up and talked about me and so on. And one of the stories that Chris said was that, said, when I was about to play her in a final, probably at Wimbledon or somewhere, said, I'd be there all sort of quiet and serious and trying to concentrate on what I'm about to do and so on. And then in comes Evonne singing.
Oh, okay.
Because I love music. I think I was the first one to take music into the dressing room. But she said she'd come in singing, and after she finished talking, I just leant over and I said, it was just tactics.
Trying to put her off a game.
It's a joke.
You've seemingly lived a very happy life since you came off the court professionally, married to Roger. How long have you been married now?
41 years.
That's a good effort.
Yeah, it is a good effort.
What's the secret?
Well, we know how to put up with each other, I think. We both support each other in every way, I think. And we're doing something that we're passionate about together.
Yeah.
And it's where we get most of our pleasure, is working with kids.
And you've got grandchildren now.
Yes.
I can't believe Evonne Goolagong is a grandmother.
Yes.
Have you got used to that yet?
Love it.
Yeah?
Love it. It's the best. Just brought so much happiness in our lives, really.
Any of them picked up a tennis racket yet?
Actually, Lucy, the 2-year-old, I saw her with a little racket and a sort of a big fluffy ball.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Hand-eye coordination already is unbelievable.
Really? At 2?
But not only that, she's so sure-footed. The father was an ex-AFL player. Yeah, and I think she wants to become a ballerina. She wants to dance. She loves music. She's a great mover and shaker.
So all the grandkids have got a mixture of you, a love of music, love of sport.
And a sense of humour.
Yeah. Well, you look right at home in your whites, because we were so used to seeing you on the tennis court in your tennis whites, but
yes.
You're all dressed for our
Predominantly
shoot.
white.
Are you ready to do this?
Sure.
Feeling comfortable?
You're the photographer.
Okay, let's do it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Evonne.